Hello and welcome to Food Safety Fridays. My name is Simon Timperley from the International Food Safety and Quality Network. Today's presentation is Driving Continuous Improvement Using Internal Audits, and today's presenter is Harmeet Dosanjh. You're there in the background. Welcome, Harmeet. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning, Simon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from California.
California, I was going to ask you. So tell us in the sidebar where you're joining from. Tell us what the weather's like. Shout out to Deborah from California, Camille from New Hampshire, Colleen from Jamaica, Tiffany from Minneapolis, Barbara from Australia, Draga from Serbia. Everybody's welcome. I'm going to play the sponsors ads now, and then we'll be back for Harmeet's presentation in a couple of minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, just to let you know, it is being recorded today, the webinar. So we'll follow up afterwards with the recording slides and certificate of attendance. I'll be back for the Q&A later, but for now, I'll hand you over to Harmeet.
All right. Thank you, Simon. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Thank you. Again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this another session with FSMA, with the Friday, sorry. Harmeet Dosanjh, I'm the Director of Operations with the Food Safety Training Department right here at SCS Global Services. We are based in Emeryville, California, and I have 17 years of food industry experience. I have master's in food safety from Michigan State. I do have certificate in international food law and regulations. And I'm excited to discuss this topic with you guys and share my experiences from industry. And I'm also an approved ATP for BRCGS. I'm an SQF lead instructor or trainer with the FSMA, and I do have knowledge building topics to improve food safety in the industry. About SCS Global Services, we are an international leader in third-party food safety, environmental sustainability certification, as well as standard development. We specialize in auditing, certification, verification, training, lifecycle assessment, and strategic consulting. And our experienced trainers provides education, knowledge based on experience. All our trainings have credentials needed to provide each of these trainings presented here. Training is delivered through different platforms. We do have instructor-led training, online self-paced, and of course in classroom with live on sites. And for today's topic, these are the key discussion points. We define internal audits. We will talk about their purpose, type, and hopefully give you a clear understanding to why internal audits, although are time consuming, but are most rewarding process within your business. We'll further look at this tool to drive continuous improvement, give you some tips for improving your internal audit program to achieve better results and meeting your food safety goals. History of internal audits. Let's take a look a little bit. The first concept formally established in 1938. The practice of internal audit dates goes back to early civilizations, but was first formally, like I said, in 1938 with the foundation of Institute of Internal Auditors and the recognition that business were growing in size, the complexity of structure and hierarchy. Leaders were looking for improved governance and appropriate controls were in place to ensure continued success and meeting strategic objectives. So internal audits have been commonly used in financial and economic system verification processes with the FISMA, of course. Sorry, I don't know why I'm using FISMA word. Sorry, with the GFSI. As you are, if you are BRC certified, SQF or FSSC, you all know that it is a primary requirement. It's for having internal audits in your system, in your food safety management system. And we need to have a robust internal audit program in your facility. Internal audits in the food industry. A self-assessment for internal verification of food safety standard requirements and entire system, and we call first-party audits. We do the audits it could be monthly based, it could be you do have quarterly, it could be every 6 months depending on your frequency. It must be performed by a multidisciplinary team within the company. It all depends. Companies have resources. They can have dedicated internal auditors, or they may have management actually doing the multidisciplinary audit. And what does that mean? Meaning, if I'm production can do maybe shipping audit. Shipping can do the receiving audit. QA can do production audit. Conducted at a frequency based on a predetermined schedule. So if you talk about schedule, meaning you have schedule from January to December, you should know what audits going to be happening or you will be performing, by who will be performed, and then you need to make sure that you do follow the schedule as you are creating or making this program. Goal is to identify conformance and non-conformance prior to second or third party. I'm hoping that you all are aware second or third party audit. Second party audit, it could be that your supplier audits. Suppliers are doing performing audit on you, or you probably performing on audits on your suppliers, maybe on your behalf of your client or supplier. There's third party coming. Third party audits are basically your GFSI, SQF, BRCGS, FSSE. Those are all considered third party audits, or regulatory, for example, FDA. And idea is to identify conformance and non-conformance. Idea is not to blame the departments that how many non-conformances such and such department is receiving. It's all about, are we in compliance and not in compliance? Because sometimes when we do internal audits, we get really personal and we get sidetracked and our emotions get in place, and we are actually diverting from the concept or from the goal, which is, are we in compliance and not in compliance? And again, the goal is, before the second or third party auditor shows up, we better find in-house, right? We want to make sure, are we in compliance? Are we finding any gaps? To identify gaps, that's the idea of internal audits, right? Identification of resolution and verification that non-conformities were addressed within agreed timeline. This is one of the areas that I have noticed throughout my career, that we forget, as in business, as a facility, as in departments, we do the audits, we perform the audits, but we forget to take a look at, okay, are we verifying if non-conformities were addressed in agreed timeline, or is it still open? And many companies actually receive in their actual audit another non-conformance because their corrective actions are still open from the last audit, if that makes sense. So you guys have to make sure, if agreed timeline is 30 days, 90 days, 60 days, you make sure that it is being closed. And we can talk about later also more about the agreed timeline. Record of proof that a company food safety system is operating as intended. Okay. Again, without proof, you cannot really say that, yes, internal audit program is working, our system is working, we are in compliance all the time. And again, we live in a world that words doesn't matter anymore. You have to show the paperwork. And again, a lot of departments or companies, they not They may not like the paperwork, but again, we have to show that company's food safety is operating as intended, and we got to have a proof through the records, through the logs, through internal audit schedule. What is the purpose and importance? Again, beyond the definition and expected requirements of internal audit, what is the purpose and why is it important? Well, it provides objective information and insight into effectiveness and compliance of company's policies, procedure, and overall food safety system, right? So far, a program that is important to your organization, we tend to look at through afterthought, or maybe an activity that is a chore and not a really robust tool that could be used to achieve success. So what happens? We either rush to get them done, lack planning in advance, and we get a complacent with the type of audits we are performing and minimize the level of communication of internal audit results. And I have noticed in my experience also, as I'm doing the internal audits, or when I was doing also when we do the consulting project, that in many companies internal audit is a chore. They just want to get it done just because audit is coming up, and it's really not a robust program which is really functioning. It's really not doing much to the company. There's really no continuous improvement. They are just doing it just for sake of doing it, and when it comes to actual audit, oops, now they realize that they forgot a lot of things. They didn't look into deep enough, and now they're getting a non-conformance which could have been avoided. So importance of internal audit is that it does provide a framework to identify, address issues through corrective and preventive actions, which we all know that corrective actions has to be taken when you identify any non-conformance or a gap. Okay, a lot of people use a different terminology, deficiencies. You need to identify and address the issues with a proper corrective action. And again, in this way, this is a area where you need to figure out what will be the right timeline to verify to close this corrective action so it doesn't happen again. Supports continuous improvement and growth of the program. Again, if we're going to take a look at internal audit as a blame game within our company, we are blaming each other. Maintenance is this, and sanitation is having so many issues, and they are not improving their system. We need to take a look at why is that. Is that a lack of manpower? Is that a lack of understanding? Is that a senior management is not supporting the program, and that's why they're having a lot of issues? So instead of again raising fingers at each other, we got to take a look at the overall team, and we have to look at the big picture. Are we really supporting? Are we making continuous improvement here, or are we just stuck there or just doing it and it's really not doing anything? Proof of compliance again through the audit reports and records, and establish monitoring and verification activities to ensure food product safety, legality, quality, and all that we strive to achieve every day. This is a really big one here because again, end of the day, internal audit is also acting as a verification. A lot of companies say, how do we verify if our food safety management system is working? And internal audit is one of the way to achieve that goal, that we have verification activities through internal audit. We are making sure everything's working as intended, whether it's a BRCGS, SQF, or even if you are not GFSI yet, you still should have internal audit program to guide you to basically, make a continuous improvement to identify the gaps. And again, there should be a goal between where we want to be at. And then, once you have that gap between, you guys can discuss with the senior management that we need to take a look at. We need resources, probably it could be a manpower standpoint, right, that we need to achieve. We need to conduct internal audits on a timely manner. It's a poll question. Simon, could you please? There's a poll. Please take a poll. How effective is your internal audit program in identifying issues and driving change? Very effective, meaning it is a main driver for your business. Effective, meaning it is working as intended, but we could use improvements. Somewhat effective, challenges in getting internal audits done, or we keep repeating the same audits. And not effective, it is just a thought. We do them because we have to. So please take a poll.
Can you see the results, Harmeet?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so majority 45% comes up somewhat effective. Challenges in getting audits done, or we keep repeating the same audit. And the other one, and then again 41% is saying effective, it is working as intended, but we find issues and we could use improvements. All right, thank you for that. Okay, so how to drive continuous improvement using internal audits? And the first thing which is going to come in its traits of successful internal auditor. Many companies that I have visited as part of either could be training, it could be part of consulting. When we were doing internal audits for our clients, we have been noticing this is a big issue where internal auditor itself or the team itself have no idea how to conduct the audits. They just don't know what is the how to what are the requirements they're looking for. They are not clear on that. They just don't know how to write the report. And then again, the major thing is that it's not about opinion, it's about fact checks, right? In the purpose of internal audit is to do the fact check. We are gathering the facts. So trait of a successful internal audit is prepare. Do the research in advance. If materials needed to be reviewed, for example, you can ask the questions. A lot of people ask, well, I've been in the maintenance department, I don't know how sanitation works, so I cannot do sanitation audit. Yes, you can. If you're new to this, if you're not familiar with that area, you can go and spend some time observing them, reading their SOPs, procedures, forms, so you know what you will be looking for. Okay, I'm pretty sure most of us are from the QA food safety world. Doesn't mean we need to work in sanitation or maintenance department just to know what exactly is happening. We still can review their procedures as long as you know how to conduct the audits. Communication is the key here. Make sure that person you're auditing was notified in advance of the audit and align with the day and time and the topic covered. So for example, if I'm doing an audit on Simon in the month of May or June, I'm going to let him know, hey Simon, I will be coming to your area. This is the clause. This is the it could be code, and does this day works for you? This will be my topic, right? So basically he's ready so he can identify what will the right documents to show. Now in this advanced communication or communication, there's a 2 layers on that. And I believe, since you all know GFSI is unannounced and announced audit, so if you already have a robust internal audit program, I would suggest you to basically move away from announcing it and basically do unannounced internal audits, because you want your team to be ready all the time, just like unannounced audits. So why do we not play this role internally? And instead of telling somebody, hey, I'm going to be coming to your area in July or August from now, just bypass that layer and then conduct the audit without informing the manager or the supervisor, if that makes sense, right? And then if you're new to this, if you're small medium-sized company, for example, you're still figuring out, then you guys can announce it since in the beginning, so that everybody gets hang of it, everybody get used to it, that such and such person gonna be coming to my area, right? This is my clause number, this is the topic, or whatever the requirements are, and then they're going to be ready. But I think once you achieve that, it's time to move on and make sure that you start doing unannounced audits. The other issue that we've been noticing, that you said, or most of you probably noticed, that we are doing the same audits. And I'll give you a really quick, very simple example. When I was in your shoes, when such an XYZ person was doing the audits within our company, he will ask very general question all the time. He will say, do you have the policy? Yes, in compliance. Do you have a training? Yes. Can I see your training record? Yes. So 3-4 questions were all is kind of like pre-made questions, and he will just basically ask these questions, and he's gonna say, we are in compliance, everything's fine. And after a while, I noticed and I said, okay, if you already know we have an SOP, we have a training records, we have all these 3-4 items already, why are you asking the same question? To the supervisor or the manager, you know already we are in compliance with that. Why you are not going on the floor now and verifying, is this really happening? Okay, so please take a review also what kind of questions you are asking. If you new to this concept, it makes sense, because you may find a lot of gaps that, you know what, we don't have SOPs, policies, procedures right now. We have a gap. We need to generate forms, also logs we don't have for this. So it makes sense to ask these questions. But you already know we have that. So why are you asking the same thing and saying we are in compliance? You are lying to yourself. You're lying to this whole internal audit program, if that makes sense. So I would say, again, bypass that layer. No need to ask supervisor, manager. Go on the floor and say, okay, whatever we are saying is actually happening as per the SOPs procedures, right? And listening skills. Please take some time for the auditee to describe what they're doing, explain the process, details of what being audited. This is another one. When you going on the floor, especially, please introduce yourself. I'm such and such person from this department. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions? It's a routine check. This, whatever happens here, will not be reported to your manager or supervisors, because we are not trying to create this negative culture where later on, let's say if you do find a gap or in a non-conformance, manager, supervisor thinking like, oh, such an basically employee should not be in this in the mindset that if I say something wrong, I'm going to be in trouble, because we are not creating this negative culture here. We are trying to create positive culture. And even, if they're wrong, just say, thank you for your time. You did really great, right? And that's it. So this is very important, that you're not really making this your auditee feel bad right at the spot. If you feel like, sometimes you can guide them so they can answer. It could be a language barrier also, that they may not understand your question in the first time, but you should rephrase your question to make sure they understand. Okay. Then obtains objective evidence. This is another area where everybody gets confused. What really is the objective evidence is? Objective evidence is based on your factual information. Okay. It could be SOP number, record that show compliance, direct observations. When you go on the floor, you can ask, for example, if a metal detector operator is working, I can say, okay, could you please demonstrate how this metal detector functions? What is the function of metal detector? What would happen if it rejects, for example, right? What would you do? So that way you're also assessing the knowledge. Okay, you're observing. You can also say, what form are you filling? Why are we filling the form, right? And if an operator is telling you, if it doesn't reject, we're going to stop the line, I'm going to report to my supervisor, that's more than enough, right? Because they are aware that they should not be continuing this metal detector or the product. Something is wrong. Okay. Factual information. When you're reviewing the SOP number, form number, please mention SOP XYZ version 3 was reviewed. Okay, because that's your fact. Form number 123 version 4 was reviewed. Okay, because that's your fact. Because when your actual auditor is going to show up to your facility, when they ask you, can I see your audit that you performed maybe month of, let's say, March, right? Then they're going to say, okay, you said SOP number, record number, can you pull this records back? It's retrievable. Okay, that's the fact. If you say, oh, SOP was reviewed, everything looks good, that's not enough detail. Many people use cross and tick mark. That's not acceptable. Please write down exactly why it's in a compliance and record why it's not a compliance. Okay. If you're observing, you can say an employee was observed. You're not going to put employee name here. Please remember that. Again, because it's not about we are taking this employee out of this and making him or she feel like, oops, they did something. Because again, culture matters here. So when we are writing the report and giving to manager, it should be an employee was observed, and then basically your response. Okay. Because I don't want this manager to go on the floor and yell at that employee. Why would you say that? I just trained you. And I'm pretty sure most of you probably said, I just trained you 2 weeks ago or a month ago or in January in the annual refresher training. And then again, we don't realize like, oops, the way we are, being on the floor and our body language and the way we are talking to our employees, that could backfire. That could create a negative culture, and we are shutting our employees. And the idea is employees should be comfortable. As you all know, even where third party auditor shows up to the floor, auditor can ask anybody question, right? So why we are not creating a culture where anybody from management also, when they show up on the floor, whether it's a casual talk, they are comfortable. Okay, so that's how we're going to create that culture as well. Unbiased and trustworthy. Unbiased auditor doesn't let their personal feelings or judgment get in the way, okay, of obtaining objective evidence and outcome. So trust in listening, sharing details of issues, and then auditor will be fair in the assessment. As well as non-conformance should not be shared with the others. Please make sure if you are doing an audit, you're not discussing with other management or supervisors, because again, that's none of their business in a way. You're only discussing to a lead auditor. If you have lead auditor as in your team, or the senior management, you're probably meeting senior management monthly basis, bi-weekly, weekly. Then you should address that, hey, audit was conducted last month, we have 5 non-conformances. That way management is aware, and then you should talk about, is this being closed out? And if it is not closed out, then management should be asking, why is it open for over 60 days, over 90 days, right? So those, please do make sure that you do talk, but you don't say that, oh, for example, David from production, oh my god, they are so terrible that we did an audit on them and we got 5 non-conformers. Now you're putting David in the picture, you're putting their whole department, ego comes in place, people hold grudges against each other, and it's just gonna backfire the whole program. So please stay away from that. Okay. Achieves alignment. So it doesn't mean the person being audited perhaps is happy with non-conformances found, but again, you need to present in a way that, hey, that this is nothing against you, we were just doing a routine check, and during the routine check we found this. Okay. And again, thank you for that. Make sure you do thank your employees or even supervisor managers. Okay. There's another thing also that we noticed all these couple of years now, that when we presenting the reports, we talk about negative first. Oh, I did an audit in your area, there's a 2 non-conformances, but we forget to compliment them. You know what, hey, I did an audit in your area, they did really good, your employees knows really good, it was really a good experience, they seem to be knowledgeable, however I found such and such non-conformance. But as a human being, our first thing is like, hey, negativity, I found these non-conformances in your area, when are you going to be done, or when you're going to be giving me corrective action? And that doesn't really work well. It doesn't really set up a foundation, right? Even though we know each other internally, that really doesn't help us. Okay. So please make sure that we try to avoid that. Positive first, and then you talk about, and again, non-conformances are not negative things, so let's not represent them. These are just the findings. Okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we found the gap, and let's work out to close the gap for continuous improvement. And that's it. That's the whole idea here. Okay. Close out report in a timely manner. And in a timely manner is, you as an auditor, internal auditor, should address this, meaning what is the right timeline. Do not leave ever to the auditee. I can guarantee you, auditee is going to say, give me 30 days. For what? Just to make a small change in the SOP? No, it should be done in 1 week, right? There could be, if it is a pressing food safety issue, it could be a do it now situation. Why do we need 30 days for that, or 60 days for that, right? So as an auditor, you should be the one who should do a risk assessment and see, okay, what will the appropriate timeline? Is there a risk to food safety, right? There could be for example, maintenance department may need longer time because they're waiting on the part, they're waiting for their managers to approve, and there are steps to go through. But then again, that should not be the reason why it cannot be done in a timely manner. I would highly recommend in this, where you are finishing your audit, talk to your auditee and say, okay, let's talk about when we're gonna meet to do look into corrective action. Okay. Again, don't wait too long for the audit to finish the report. Please make sure that memories fade, we get busy, and we forget, and we don't identify non-conformance, and it just open. Oops, later we find out that it should have been done, but we just didn't pay attention. And again, we all get busy. We all know that answer. Okay. Type of internal audits. To do this, we must challenge to the approach to the audit. Okay, internal audits are not the same. The type of audit will vary dependent on the scope and objective. System audit that covers the entire food safety system, and some companies hire a consultant actually to conduct a full audit in 2-3 days, and they break into over a year. I have done that for one of our clients, where they call me every year and they ask me to perform their internal audit. Not that they don't do their internal audit, but there are some sections that they want third party to come in and do the internal audit. So I visit them, I do the internal audit, and I'm gonna present how the findings are, as it is the way I've been finding. The process audit will be focused on specific procedure or area, such as receiving management commitment procedures, are being followed. Product audit is an evaluation of compliance of to specifications through verifying records, such as your finished product test, disposition of the issues. Inspection is typically a checklist format, a preset questions, direct observations of compliance of your GMP, right? Facility condition, employee practices. And then factors to determine is time, what is the scope of the audit, what will be the skill of the audit team. Please do remember that a lot of participants or people get confused with audits to inspection. GMP inspection is slightly different. GMP inspection can be performed by the QA. They have their own checklist. They go out there and they they want to make sure, okay, I observed such and such employee for the PPE. You're doing the also the factory or facility condition, right? So GMP inspection is different. And when it comes to internal audit, especially make sure that QA is not doing their own audit. Meaning, if I'm a food safety manager, QA manager, I'm not doing my HACCP audit, because then it's biased. You're going to be biased. You're not going to be, since we work in our department, everything looks great to us. Everything is going to be fine. And the whole idea is to challenge. Somebody is going to challenge your HACCP food safety program as well. Okay. To ensure compliancy does not compromise your audit success, use different type of audit methods. Ensure programs are properly challenged. Auditor fatigue does not occur by using the same audit style. Deeper dive in your audits to better understand non-conformance. What are the missing elements we have? Same area could be audited with a review of your SOP. It could be direct observation, employee performing, interviews, evaluation of your records, and follow the audit trail. Pick a product, maybe multiple dates, evaluate your records to verify compliance. One thing I want to mention here, that please do not pick the entire sections to do the audit. A lot of companies do this mistake. I think it's a mistake, because now you're holding everybody for 8 hours, 16 hours, and you're doing the entire sections in 1 day. You're really not getting out of it, to be honest with you. I think if you break down into smaller sections, then it's much easier, quick, and effective. For example, you can do, in the month of May, I might do audit on customer complaint. In the month of June, for example, I might do maintenance audit. July, I might do sanitation, shipping, document control, for example, right? Recall, let's say, right? I can do a small audit, sharp audit, meaning if you're using these, knives and all the cutters, I can just do simple, effective. Chemical audit in sanitation, chemical audit in maintenance department, for example, right? Receiving. So try to break it down in a smaller section than taking the entire section. For example, let's take a BRC, entire section 1, entire section 2, 3, 4 is the longest section. And if you are familiar with the BRCGS, you all know you're not going to achieve that in 1 hour or 8 hours. Okay. So I would suggest you to break it down into smaller sections. Root cause analysis is another one. That root cause is a systematic problem solving tool. Please make sure that your team is aware, whether it's use 5Y, Fishbone, Pareto chart, whatever works in your companies, to identify the actual root cause of a non-conformity. This is where companies receive a actual non-conformance because they do the corrective actions, they forgot to do the root cause, okay, or they do the root cause, but it's every time it's the same issue. And I'll give you a really quick example. When I did an audit in the maintenance, there was a non-conformance that I found. I asked simple question to the maintenance employees: where do we store food grade versus non-food grade chemicals we have, or the grease oils we have? And the employee said, I don't know. And that almost gave me a heart attack. Like, you what? You don't know where is food grade and non-food grade? Now I have bigger issues now, seems like. Then I asked the second employee. I thought maybe it could be, one thing. So I asked the second employee that, hey, where do we keep our food grade chemicals? And the answer was same, that we don't have any food grade and non-food grade. And I'm like, wait a minute. I had their training record with me. 6 employees were listed. Supposedly they were trained on maintenance procedures and chemicals. I gave that as a non-conformance. Guess what? Maintenance manager said training was an issue. And I said, I accepted that corrective action with the root cause training. Okay. 3 months later, same question, same employee, same answer, same corrective action came. And this time I rejected the corrective action because I'm like, this is not right. If training is the issue, training is not effective. The way you are training is not working out. Employees are not probably retaining, and it could be a language barrier because English, and we had a lot of employees heavily, Spanish is their first language, their first preference. So there could be a lot of things being gone in the translation, and they're not understanding what we're trying to teach them, right? But again, from the management perspective, training is the problem because every time something goes wrong, training is the issue. Let's jump on training, retrain them, and then as part of corrective action, they're gonna give us the training record, and I should accept it. So please, if it is a second time, same repeated non-conformance coming, dig into corrective action, reject the corrective action, tell them to identify the root cause, because that is, training could be one of the factor, but training cannot be answer all the time. Okay. Tracking, trending, driving progress. Evaluate your data. You look at the status of internal audits, and need to let senior management also aware so they can address these issues. What are number of compliances versus non-conformances we receiving? What is our severe ranking of severity? Now, I have a different opinion on critical, major, minor. The reason is because as soon as I'm going to say minor, my management have mindset that if it is minor, it's not a big deal. We're going to do it whenever we have time. So I thought this is not working out for us because as soon as I say minor, they really don't care or not addressing on a timely manner. So I stayed away and I did not write any more critical, major, minor. As an auditor, we were trained, I trained my team that it's a critical, you need to address it right away. Let us know, right? But if we say minor, especially, and not to blame maintenance department in general, but typically they say it's a minor, we can fix it later. It could be 30 days or 90 days. Okay. This is the reason I try to stay away for addressing the ranking of severity. But again, if it is working for you guys, that's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. If you feel like major, minor, critical, you want to do it because it's an internal audit. We're really not a third-party auditor. So that's why I never thought that I need of ranking them. But again, if it is working for you, great. Tracking open and closed non-conformance is very important, and address issues with thorough root cause analysis. Look at the larger potential trends also. Is it a culture issue? Is it a training issue? Again, is it another one I can give you a really example is that we were really busy. We had from August to December, we were really busy, and management decided on behalf or my back that they don't want to do internal audits from August to December because we are a busy season and we're going to do audits starting January and February. And I told my boss, that's fine with me. Can you please write on a piece of paper? Because when auditor shows up, I have to show, auditor, I have to prove. And so write on a piece of paper so at least I know why we didn't do audit in busy season, because we were busy. We didn't have time, we didn't have people, and this is not a priority. And they said, no, we're not gonna go there. I said, what makes you guys think that that system is working in a slow season? Okay, you're defeating the purpose of the audits. We want to do this in the busy season because we want to make sure everything's still in compliance. We are not taking shortcuts when it comes to food safety. We are not doing something fishy during the busy season. So I said, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Please, we have to. And then they came around and I said, okay, we can decrease our frequency, but we still got to do the internal audits. Okay, so that's how I had to turn around and I have to let management. Sometimes you have to go a little bit far because management does not have the same understanding. They are not coming from the same the language barrier could be because we, food safety QA, we are always looking into bigger perspective here, and this is just a task for them, and it's adding more work to them, but they are not realizing the importance. Let's look into tips to improve your internal audit program and achieve your goals. Make sure you have a robust internal audit program. Okay, make sure that it's only not one person doing the audit, but you have team. But if you're a smaller company, you're wearing multiple hats, make sure if you possible you have at least one more person who can do cross-functional audits. That way it's not just you're not biased. Okay, lead auditor, internal audit that develop the schedule, make sure schedule is being followed. This is another one where companies get a minor non-conformance in their actual audit because oops, we forgot to do the audit in April, we were busy again, we didn't have time, we forgot to do the audit in January. So make sure you follow the schedule. Make sure that you are not really pinpointing the date, because when I was in your shoes, I was like, okay, hey, we need to perform this audit in the month of May, and that's it. I'm going to leave it between auditee and auditor. They're going to figure out, they can figure out when is the right time for them to meet. As long as they are done in month of May, I'm fine with that. Then lead auditor should review the reports and follow up with the auditee on non-conformances. Auditor can follow up also, but if you feel like, no, then you can follow up. Make sure verify the corrective actions are being closed on a timely manner, it's working as intended. So when the final report used to come to my desk, I will review. I will also go up in the facility in the plan to make sure, yes, we are, it's happening as it is, and then I will sign off, and then it's basically the audit is done. Communicate. Please do communicate with the team in a positive manner. Again, idea is not to show them how terrible they are. Idea is to, again, we are doing a continuous improvement, we have some gaps, let's work collectively as a team here. What can we do to make things right for you? Is there some department may struggle, and it's not a big deal. Some departments are new to this concept, they just they're not aware, so we got to help them. And again, goal is to lead the team doesn't conduct audit all the time, meaning your lead auditor should not be conducting all the time. That's why you have audit team, and lead auditor job is to resolve the conflicts also. When I was a lead auditor, my auditee and auditor had arguments, conflicts. Then I had to sit with them, and I had to make sure that we are not deviating from our goal here. Okay, expand your internal audit team. Make sure the team that is going to conduct audits are trained, require specific knowledge. They should know how to conduct the audit, how to write reports. Report writing takes some time. I'm not really asking for them to be perfect in 1 or 2 audits. It takes time to write the reports. How can we expand audit team? Develop your you can add from different departments. You can develop your checklist, increase training. You can have a third-party trainings, review your records, motivate others to join. It could be incentive based. If that's your company is trying to create a food safety culture, that could be a way to motivate others, and through participation. Internal audit schedules. You can create your own checklist. You can create your own calendar also, and you can talk about from January to December, for example, what audits you would like to conduct. Plan ahead, make sure you meet food safety standard requirements. Again, if you're looking into BRCGS, for example, right? And then do take time and commitment to achieve. Make sure you do talk about busy season, or are we waiting last minute? For example, BRC required to spread out 4 times a year, right? So don't forget to use the checklist. BRC, SQF, they have their own checklist also available on their websites. So on their so you guys can check, download your checklist from the standard. I'm not fan of that checklist, but again, if you're comfortable with that, go for it. Typically, the way I train my team, that create your own questions, read the clause, read the code, and create your own questions. That can help. But in the beginning, if the checklist help, you can do that as well. Okay, so whatever works for your team, you need to assess also is my team there yet? Okay, don't just dump them on them and they're like, what are we doing here? What does that even mean? Okay, and internal auditors make sure they are aware SQF requirement, for example, BRCGS requirement, FSSC requirements. Otherwise, they gonna be lost in their own process. Language is bit different, as we all know. Language is a little bit regulatory side of it. It's not a regular English, the day-to-day English we talk. So they may not be able to pick some verbiage, some especially, for example, BRC, it's a British standard. A lot of words are very British sound. So they might look at you like, what does that even mean? Okay. And again, we are here to challenge the team. Okay. But again, you don't have to do the announced audit if you're not there yet. Okay. But again, if you feel like we are already unannounced, so then why don't we make this internal audit unannounced? Okay. We are trying to prepare your team. We are creating an environment which is open, honest communication. And we want to make sure that you identify the issues before your second audit, a second party and third party audit. That is the goal here, right? That we are assessing internally. And don't wait until the end of the quarter or year to check back with the team. Truly be a leader. Make sure that, as a leader, you guys are addressing things on a timely manner. You're addressing the issues in a timely manner. You're checking with your team members, hey, what kind of issues are we having? It could be that they're like, every time I go on the floor, the floor manager is always there. They don't want us to conduct the audit. It happened to me where I was conducting the internal audit and the production manager said, why don't you talk to my lead? I said, huh? Why would I talk to the lead? I can talk to whoever I want. You're not going to tell me, basically, you're not going to lead my audit, if that makes sense. So sometimes you might get influence also from different parties because they want you to feel like, oh, talk to this person because they can answer you the best. And that's not the idea here. Okay. They should not be influencing your audit. Please make sure that you are you're doing what is right to be in compliance. Okay. Define and clear scope is also very important. Scope of the audit. For example, if my scope of the audit today is going to be complaints, customer complaints, that is my boundary of the audit. Okay, I should stay within the boundary. I should not jump from customer complaints to sanitation all of a sudden. Your audit might say, wait a minute, I thought audit is customer complaint. Okay, so please make sure that you do talk about what is the scope of the audit, what is the intent of the audit. Okay, and stay within the boundaries. Don't jump from one thing to another because it just kind of seems like you are not prepared. You have no idea how to conduct the audit, and your auditee may not feel comfortable with you even answering the question. And it could be management also. Your senior management, your manager, supervisors might say, wait a minute, he or she doesn't even know what they're asking. They're jumping from one thing to another, and you're losing the interest from there. Okay. Identify if you can use checklist or you may have open-ended questions. I like open-ended questions. I read the clause, I make my own questions, and I try to get, with the audit. So in the open-ended questions, you're looking basically more answers. It's not a yes or no answer. So if I ask you a question, do you have an SOP? The answer is yes. Have you done training? Yes. In some of the scenarios it may work, but it's really not giving me the story behind. So try to ask in an open-ended question where employees, we're basically giving them the floor and they are answering in more detail. Okay. And we tend to ask more close-ended questions. So please look into that. Make sure the auditor you're selecting, they can perform the audit. And again, they are not doing their own audits, because that's biased. We should be someone else, because someone else, when they're looking in your own department, they may have good suggestions. Look at as a positive way and not as an attack that they're attacking your department. They're attacking you as an individual or the department supervisor, managers, or even senior management. Okay. Provide an average time. Average time to me, I think 30 minutes, quick, effective, move on. 30 minutes to 1 hour. If that, I don't think 4 hours, 8 hours, and 6 hours is really, you're achieving a lot much from there. So again, if I were you, I will break down to smaller sections, smaller parts. And then again, if possible, you can provide materials where possible to achieve your scope. You can review the procedures, SOPs before you do the audits. So you are aware. Measure and celebrate success. Communication is the key here. And if we are communicating in a positive way, it could be a success with the team, company as an important part in maintaining commitment and buy-in. So set your achieve objectives, make sure you're doing internal audits on time. That can help you in improving your third-party results, reduce non-conforming events, rewarding the internal audit team, improves the awareness of purpose and importance, promote culture, and of course supports continuous improvement initiatives. So those are very important. We need to make sure that we are celebrating success and not just saying XYZ department is struggling, they are this, they are that, they don't do anything on time, they're lacking this. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure senior management is playing a role, and they also understand the importance of internal audits. And if they don't, then you need to sit with them and talk to them, because again, at the end of the day, senior management commitment has to be there. This is another poll, but you guys can type in the chat box if you like. Does your team need more in-depth training on internal audits?
I've actually set that. I've set that up, Harmy, so the people can vote.
All right, there you go. Thank you. All right, the results are out. 70% almost saying yes. 20% is saying maybe, and 10% saying no. So thank you for that. Again, most of you do feel that team needs more in-depth training, because they should know how to conduct the audits. They should know how to write the reports. What are they looking for? How to even approach to the employees on the floor. You may be comfortable with the management, but again, when you're going out there on the floor, you don't want to create this culture. Your body language matters. The way you're approaching employees also matters here. We don't want to shut our employees, but actually more open to us. That way they are prepared for our third-party audits as well. Well, SCS trainings are out. Training schedule is out. We do have internal audit trainings for BRCGS and our general internal audit training as well. So if you like, you are more than welcome to join our schedule. And that's about it. So thank you for attending the session with me. I hope you guys liked, enjoyed, and I'm open to Q&A.
Okay, Harmy, just hang on a second. Let me go to the Q&A. Question, yes, from Benita. An example of working on an audit that will just disappeared. Just hang on a sec. Benita is asking an example of working on an audit that will take a long time to finish. We do sometimes have audit findings that require new equipment, new training, validations that can take more than the current year. How do we document that well?
Bonita, thank you for the question. If you do have findings which require new equipment, new training, validations, you can, as long as there's no risk to food safety, you can address it that it's work in progress. Again, you can still put a timeline, whether it's taking 30 days, 90 days, or even 6 months. Okay. And then you can mention also like, okay, this is what we identified. There's no risk to food safety. Because at the end of the day, we're looking at food safety here through the internal audits also, right? Are we in compliance with your, even whether you have SQF, BRC, FSSC. So you guys can document really well that this was the finding. There is no risk. This is the timeline. And again, if you are going to out from this timeline, let's say you were initially thinking that validation might take 90 days or 60 days, that's completely fine as long as you have timeline and you're still working towards that. If you leave it open and there's no action item coming, then we're going to have an issue, if that makes sense. So as long as you're addressing it.
Okay, thanks. Question from Casey on which department is most appropriate to audit the quality department?
That's a really good question. I'm going to answer this in a two-part. I was in a situation where we were a medium-sized company, and I didn't have anybody from my team who could really challenge my food safety plan or HACCP plan. And in that scenario, it's like, I'm going to say whatever I want, and they're just going to agree with me. And that's not right. So what I did, I hired a third-party consultant and he only did my section 2 HACCP because I wanted him to look at from other, his perspective, and I was open to know what are my findings in my section. So that's one way. The other is also if you have team members who are well aware, meaning on the HACCP side of it, quality side of it, they understand, then you can have them do the audit in your section or in your department. It could be senior management. Sometimes you're a small company, plant manager, you can have him or plant manager do the audit, or her, whatever. But again, if you can have a third party just for this section, that is an option, and which is completely fine.
Okay, great. Question from Tiffany. If training is not the answer all the time to the root cause analysis, what other options are useful and acceptable for a more effective system?
Training could be one thing, Tiffany. It could be one factor that, or it could be tip of the iceberg, and that's why we typically accept it and we really never verify it. Other options, you have to look into the root cause. What are this triggering? 5 whys does help. If it doesn't, then fishbone can help also. It could be equipment issue. It could be material issue. It could be SOP was not well written. That's why they're not retaining anything. They're taking shortcuts because they have so much pressure, I'm just saying, from production that they don't think it's important. So there could lot of things could be the reason. That's why we need to dig into that. Retraining, but it's really doing what to us? Is this really helping us? Is this just we are wasting our resources and we are not getting out of it? If you are doing the training, please make sure you do a effectiveness check, or we call it competency check also. That, okay, I'm not expecting 100%, but what are they really learning out of this? You can ask quiz may not be the answer. You can do a demonstration. Let's see, right? That way it is effective. So verification is important. Again, going out there and looking at the solutions, that's going to help.
Okay, thanks. Jennifer is asking, what do you recommend for internal auditor training? Internal from a current auditor or an external third-party training?
So I would recommend at least one person from your team get a third-party training, and you can train your internal team if you like. Otherwise, you can have your whole team and have a private training, and then you can train your team as well. But at least make sure one person have a third-party training, so that person knows exactly how to conduct the audit, especially if you're BRCGS. BRCGS have their own internal audit trainings. If you are SQF, you can also take our general training, which we do address SQF in that, and FSSC.
Thank you. And a question from Megan. The internal audit team has trouble getting non-conformities closed in a timely manner. Any suggestions?
Megan, great question. Maybe you can answer this question. What is the reason why they're not doing in a timely manner? Is it lack of management support? Is it lack of their understanding? Where's the gap at? Why are we not checking 30 days or 15 days or 30 days? Is your auditor giving a long time where a gap could have been fixed in 1 week or in 1 day, right? Best way to address it to the senior management when you are meeting with them, whether it's weekly, monthly, sit with them and do address it. That's another thing, that whenever you're sitting with your management, sit with them and say, hey, we've been doing this, we did this audit, corrective action still being open for XYZ days. We need your support, because again, sometimes things are beyond your control, and you need to address it to senior management so they can address to the right party that, hey, this is important, we need to get it done. What is holding you guys? Okay, so setting up a meeting with them, with your party. If you're saying we're gonna meet you, let's meet in 30 days, make sure you do invite them in a meeting and sit with them and see, okay, why it's not happening. So my suggestion would be that.
Great, perfect. And that's it. That's all the questions, and it's bang on the hour. So appreciate your time today. Great presentation and some good feedback in the chat. So thanks very much, Harmeet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and enjoy, guys, rest of the day and weekend.
Thanks, Harmeet. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye. Okay, I've just loaded the certificate in the sidebar. We'll be following up in an hour or so with the recording, slides, and certificate again. Thanks for joining today. Next Friday, what have we got? Actually, we've got a training course, internal auditor training. Funnily enough, 4 hours with Tony Connor next Friday. So if you want to join that, just watch out for the emails. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.